Hello everybody and welcome to this tutorial. I have Kali Linux machine here running. I have left the installation process in the last tutorial because it was quite frankly pointless to just sit and wait for it to finish, primarily because Kali Linux installation it tends to be a bit longer than the installation of other Linux operating systems, primarily because of the pre-packaged tools that come with it. However, there were a few screenshots that I have made that some of the options that you were asked while the installation process was going on. So there were just three of them. I'm just gonna go ahead and open them up here. So the first one that happened was that I was asked, do you want to use a network mirror to supplement the software that is included on the CD-ROM? This may also make this may also make newer versions of software available. I said no because I'm gonna do an update as soon as I finish the installation process and as soon as I configure everything in the proper way. That's basically the update is the part of the configuration that I'm going to do, so it doesn't matter. No, I do not want to use any mirrors or anything of a kind. I'm just gonna say no and go ahead and proceed with the installation. So next up is the grub. So grub bootloader it is asking me, do you want to install grub bootloader to the master boot records? Yes, I do. Just click on it, as this is the only operating system on this machine, on this computer. There's nothing that I can mess up by installing the grub bootloader to the master boot records of the first hard drive, as it is stated here in the instructions. You can use the grub bootloader in order to configure multiple dual boots, or I don't know, you can boot 3, 4, 5 operating systems, as many as you like, as many as your hardware can support. Not at the same time, of course, but at boot time you will be prompted and asked which operating system do you wish to boot. That's also one of the options that you can have with grub. But aside from that, just click yes there, and there's a final one. It simply states that the installation is complete, and if you have used a CD to complete this installation, or a USB or something of a kind, you will need to remove that media and reboot the system in order for all of this to function. So that would be it. I was asked those three very simple questions. You have the answers here. Just go through them. It will not make a difference in the final account of things. I'm just going to go ahead and close this, and now I'm going to go ahead and log into my Kali Linux virtual machine. So the username is, this is actually one of the rare occasions, actually this is pretty much the only occasions where I log into GUI with root. But as you can see, as you will soon realize, in Kali Linux everybody just logs in with root, primarily because you are not using Kali Linux to browse the web or something like that. You are usually using it 99% of time to perform some sort of an attack, and for all of those tools you need to be pretty much for all those tools you need to be a root user or have root privileges. There's most of the time there's no point to have any other users on a Kali Linux distro. So type in root, press enter, password was test, press enter, yours is whatever you appointed it to be. Of course, if it's a virtual machine you don't need to worry that much, but if it's your main machine or something like that, and Kali is generally not recommended to be your main desktop machine, that's not a good idea. Rather run it as a virtual machine. Okay, so first I need to do a few things like updates in order for me to be able to install VirtualBox guest editions, so that we may use full screen and that we may use share clipboard and so on and so forth. Just go ahead and change this, open up my terminal, set the view. This is non-technical stuff. This you can configure any way you like. I'm just zooming it in for the purposes of this tutorial so that you may see it better. But before we can do updates, before we can do anything, we must verify that we have connectivity to the internet. So ping, I don't know, yahoo.com. Here we go. Nothing is happening. So I cannot ping yahoo.com, meaning that I don't have exit to the external network. I cannot access the internet. That's a pretty big problem, because pretty much whatever we do, we will need internet for it, internet connectivity for it, in order to download packets from the repositories, to perform updates, and to conduct scans, possible scans, and so on and so forth. So just go ahead and click on Devices, find Network Settings, and here you can see it's set, by default it will be set to NAT, but you don't want the NAT, you want bridged adapter, and you want to choose your adapter here. Mine is P8P1, see what yours is, and click Allow VMS, Virtual Machines. So okay, if you don't know what the adapter on your machine is and you are using a Linux system, just go ahead, open up your terminal, and type in ifconfig. Here you will be able to see a listing of adapters that you have. So you have LO, which is loopback, you have P8P1, which is my Ethernet connection, this is for some virtual machines as well, and I have VLP2S0, which is my wireless interface. So I know that for a fact that I'm using P8P1 primarily because my network manager tells me that I am, you see, connected to P8P1. This is also a better way of actually checking what you are connected to, which adapter you are using. So just open up your network manager in the upper right corner and look at P8P1, it says connected. Your network manager's position can vary depending on how you've configured your system. By default it will be in the bottom right corner, but that is easy enough to find either way. Let's just go ahead and close this terminal. Now that we have actually configured our network, have we? Yes, we have. But still, I'm pretty sure I won't have internet connectivity. Let me just try ping again, and you see it is simply not working. So there is a problem once again. So let's just go ahead and check the Kali Linux Network Manager, and it says wired network but device not managed. That can be a problem, and that is a general problem which you will face with wired interfaces pretty much all the time. There's a relatively easy fix to it. You just navigate over the terminal, you type in cd, which stands for change directory, to etc network manager. Let's see what's in it. Excellent. We have network manager config.conf. I'm going to go ahead and type in nano, which is the text editor that I'm going to be using, and then type in networkmanager.conf. Press enter. There we go. It opens up the configuration file. You do need to be root in order to make any changes here. It says main plugins, if up down, key file, if up down, managed equals false. So where it says false, just delete this and type in true. Control O to save, press enter, Control X to exit. Now we need to actually restart our network manager. So just go ahead and type in service, network, there we go, network manager, restart, stopping and starting. Excellent. Connection established. You are now connected to if up down ETH0. Let's check the connectivity. So ping yahoo.com. Excellent. So now we have internet connectivity. And pay attention to these steps here. They're quite important, not so much for the ethical hacking part as they are to actually setting up the environment, because setting up the environment itself can be troublesome. You can encounter multiple problems, bugs, etc., and then instead of having to go from one forum to the other trying to find the solution, you can just go through this tutorial, just pay a bit of attention, and I will show you pretty much how to resolve pretty much all the issues that you might encounter, because I myself am doing I have done a fresh install here, and I would be encountering the same problems that anybody else would, and I would like to go over them. Because more likely than not, if you are performing a virtual machine installation, you will encounter similar problems as I have. Although, should you encounter any other problems, please feel free to pose questions and I will be more than happy to provide any answers that I can. So let's just go ahead and clear the screen. And now that we have internet connectivity, I would like to perform some updates which are necessary. Believe me, you need to perform regular updates of the system because you will find that certain things will not work after a while. So let me just change the directory, clear the screen again, type in app-get update. So I could do this with one command in Fedora, but here I'm going to need two of them. So it's picking up things from the repositories. Excellent. Now I need to type in app-get upgrade. Press, and you see it says after this operation 73 megabytes of additional disk space will be used. This is this last sentence here that I am marking. And that is quite a bit in terms of updates. I mean, look at all the packages. These are all the packages that are to be updated. List goes on and on. Well, there we go. It starts from here and it doesn't end anytime soon. It goes all the way down. So anyway, just type in yes. You don't actually need to type in capital Y. You can just type in Y, press enter, and the update process will start. Now, depending on your internet connection, this might take shorter or longer amounts of time. I will end this tutorial here until the updates actually finish because I don't want to be standing here in front of the screen. But in any case, these updates will finish until the end. You're not going to be posed any questions at a certain point of time during the update process. You might be notified of some things. A screen might pop with some text. That's perfectly fine. Just you can read through it and then close it. Those are README files specifying the characteristics of certain packages and what has been upgraded. But don't go about just reading it there. You can close it later on. If you wish, you can do further exploration and actually discover what each of these packages contains. In any case, we will continue this process in the follow-up tutorial. Until then, I bid you all farewell. Hello everybody and welcome to this tutorial. Today I will continue from where I left off in the previous one. Now if you remember, we issued app-get update and app-get upgrade commands. That took a while to finish and process. I was prompted once. I was given a README file in regards to wget program, wget packet, and the way you handle it is you press Q to exit. You do not close the terminal and terminate the updates. Rather, instead, you just press Q to exit the README file and the update process will continue, no problems. So today we need to configure the sources list. Those are the list of repositories from which your Linux distro actually pulls various packets and information from. Just like Fedora, Kali Linux also has repositories, and if you go onto their website, you see the link is here. I have marked it. You have these 4 repositories that are the default repositories of Kali Linux, and you can just go ahead and copy paste them. Not a bad idea to do this. Sometimes, I don't know why, but I don't find them by default in the repository list, in the sources list, so I gotta do it manually. You go ahead and basically type in cd/etc/apt. ls, and there you go. You have sources.list. You go ahead and type nano sources.list. Press enter, and there you are now in the repository file. This is where they are listed. This is where you can type them in. So let's just go ahead and copy these two. I'm not going to worry about any duplicates now or anything of a kind. Duplicate repositories are not going to break anything, so no worries. The system is smart enough to realize that for itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy 4 of these. Later on, if we want, we can sort this out and remove the duplicates or something of a kind, but for the time being, it doesn't matter. It's not going to break anything. Just copy all 4 of them, press Ctrl O, enter, Ctrl X to exit, and there you go. So once again, Ctrl O to save a file. So press Ctrl O, enter, and then Ctrl X to exit. Excellent. Now that we got that sorted out, we need to clear the screen, and even though we've actually placed our repositories there, it doesn't matter. The system will still not be able to pick anything up from them until we actually perform the following. So we need to do apt-get the space update. So we're not upgrading the system, we're just updating the repository lists. This should go through relatively fast, and at the end it is most likely going to report duplicates, but that is fine, that is okay, there is no problem there. If you're wondering why are we doing this, well, we do need these repositories in order to install the necessary headers for Kali Linux kernel, which we will need in order to install VirtualBox guest editions to get full screen functionality. Because if we continue to work like this in this smaller screen, it wouldn't be good, trust me. Primarily because we're gonna be doing a lot of things, we're gonna need a lot of windows that are open, and that can present problems. So there you go. It's not an error, it's a W, so it's a warning. It says duplicate sources list, duplicate sources list, duplicate sources list. No big deal there. We can correct these problems later on if we wish, but for the time being, there is no need. Let me just go ahead and clear the screen. And now what I want to do is install 2 more packages, which will allow me to actually install and run VirtualBox guest editions. So I have a pre-built command here for you that I'm going to run. It goes like this, basically. You have apt-get. You're calling the packet manager, you're telling it to do an update, but since we already did a few updates, I don't actually need that portion of the command. I'm just going to go ahead and use apt-get install-y, and then I have dkms. That's one package, and then I have another package, because you can specify a lot of packages here, as many as you like, pretty much. And then I have Linux headers dash, and what this here is, this is a variable. This $sign. This is some sort of variable, a string, and whatever this command uname space -r outputs, it will be stored into this variable and it will be added to this text line here. So let me just show you. I have uname -r that I ran here on my terminal, and what I got was the kernel version and the system architecture 62, 64, or 32-bit. I'm just going to go ahead and press enter. There is nothing to do as I have previously installed them. I didn't want to waste time during the tutorial, but this command is going to fly without any problems, especially because you have -y argument. You're basically saying to your packet manager, if you have any questions for me, just answer them all with yes. So that went just fine. The install process, I'm just going to go ahead and run apt-get upgrade. You want to make sure that this happens after the installation. I already did it. I'm just doing a bit of a show here, and it says that 2 of them are not upgraded. It says Metasploit and Metasploit framework, but it says that the packages have been kept back, so this is being done for a valid reason. We will get into that a bit later on, but for the time being, let me just go ahead and clear the screen. One of the first things that we need to do now is go ahead and click on Devices, Insert, Guest Edition CD Image. And yep, there we go, it popped. This is a warning that Kali Linux issues and that many other Linux type operating systems issue. If you have content that is on a CD or a USB or something like that, and if it's configured to run automatically, the system will block it and then it will ask you for a permission. So the medium contains software intended to be automatically started. Would you like to run it? I'm going to go ahead and click run and most likely get an error. There we go, error auto running software, cannot find the auto run program. Now the error message, it doesn't really tell us much in this case. I guess we could take a look at the log files and so on and so forth, but here is the solution which you can apply, as this is a common problem that people encounter all the time, so there are some standardized solutions and patches to this sort of problems. So just go ahead and type in the terminal cd to change the working directory, navigate over to where the VirtualBox guest edition cd is, which is, you can use the same path that I'm using, so media, and then ls, and then cd again, cd-rom 0. Excellent. So we are now here, and look, I have a listing of pretty much all the contents of the CD. Basically, this is a virtual CD. It's not a real one, but it works pretty much just the same. So this is the file that I want. I want to move it from here, so I'm just going to go ahead and use command cp. You can also use move command, but you're permanently going to remove it from here, and that is not what we want to do. So just type in cp for copy, type the name of whatever you wish to copy, very simple, and then specify the path to where you want the file to be copied. I want it to be copied in my home directory. Press enter, and there we go. Now navigate over to your home directory, get a listing, excellent, it is there. The way to run any script in Linux, any executable file in general, not just a script, is just to press / and then the name of that file, press enter, there we go. It is running. The guest additions are being installed. I have attempted this process before just to make sure that everything would run smoothly, and that's why it says removing existing things. Anyway, it might take a while for it to finish, but I assure you it will. There's a lot of things to do, and that is why it's taking a bit more of your time. Now, aside from the full screen functionality that we're going to get by installing VirtualBox guest additions, just in case you think it's a bit of a pointless effort if you are a student, because as a teacher, I have to have the full screen so you can see everything. You also have, under devices, drag and drop and shared clipboard. What these drag and drop, the name itself is self-explanatory. You just pull a file from somewhere and then pull it onto your virtual machine, or vice versa. But I don't like to enable drag and drop. What I do like to do is enable shared clipboard host to guest. Now here's why. I use my browser on my host machine primarily because you tend to watch a video or two somewhere about something, and you don't really want to go about installing Flash on Kali Linux. It can be problematic. So host to guest copy pasting is very useful, and you will need it, I assure you. Now there is a shared folder settings. You can either construct a shared folder, or you can have a localized web server on both machines where you can pull the information from and put the information there if configured properly, but shared folders are better for such purposes. Anyway, you can review what has happened here. It has been listed here. The most important part of it all is that you don't have any reports of anything failing. So let's just go ahead and go over it. So all good here, guest addition, no failures here, none here, copying additional installable modules, installing them, done. Excellent. Installing the Windows system drivers, very important. Done. Or just restart the system, the Windows system. Okay, so let me just go ahead and attempt to restart the graphics. So init run level 3, init run level 5. Will this work? No, apparently it works on Fedora, but perhaps the command is a bit different here. I'm just going to go ahead and type in reboot. Reboot is a lot safer option. Init 3 and 5, there are run modes of Linux. One is basically without any graphical interface, pure text, and the other one is with a GUI. The safer option when you conduct installation of such packages that relate to the kernel directly, and especially if you have several of them, is simply to reboot the machine just to be on the safe side. It doesn't take up a lot of your time. It happens very fast, and it's a lot safer option. It's going to save you a lot of headaches in the future. Excellent. So we have our boot here. Just press enter, and let's just go ahead and close this. Let me just load the full screen, and let us see if it will actually happen, if the VirtualBox guest additions that we have installed will work. If they do work, great. if they don't, we're gonna have to try something else, as these things do have a tendency to break and problems can occur. So it's booting. Come on. Okay, I need to log in first. Root. And test below. Excellent, there we go. I have a full screen. Let me just... Oops. The image is being adjusted. Excellent, there you have it. So we have Kali Linux now running in full screen mode, which is fantastic. Now we have a full overview of the situation. If I open up my terminal and... Oops, the scroll doesn't seem to work. It needs to be configured manually. So you zoom in. That's one of the things that I find very annoying about Kali Linux, but... Oops, yep, there we go. That's it. That's how you zoom in, but Control plus minus, zoom out. And view, zoom in, Control plus plus, okay. So I am pressing Control plus plus, but it seems to be minimizing things. Oh well, what can you do about it? Doesn't really matter. I will enlarge it later on as we progress through the tutorial. There are a few things that can be rather buggy here, especially with the keyboard keys that you are using, because it's a virtual machine. If you were using Kali Linux as your main machine, as your host machine, you wouldn't have such problems, but as I have stated previously, it is not a recommended option. In any case, that would be it for this tutorial. These are pretty much all the preparations that you needed to make. And next up, we're going to get into the Linux command line interface. I need to acquaint you with it. Even though we have done some of the commands, they are a very small portion of what we need to learn, and I do need to explain them to you because we're going to be using Linux command line a lot. Basically, whatever we do, we're going to need it. And with that, I bid you farewell and sincerely hope to see you in the next tutorial.